everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Shantae. In the last part, we got here to the zombie caravan, and now we gotta continue on. Now, the item shop here actually has the last two items in the game that you can buy. They are the greedy jars, which make enemies drop double the loot. So if they drop like a 5 gem, they'll drop a 10 gem instead. And the other one, by the way, I buy a couple of these because I like having every item. And the last one's the fireball, which is essentially a much more powerful version of the pike ball. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the most pain-in-the-ass thing about this town here is that after you beat this upcoming dungeon, it starts moving around every night. It's one of those nomadic towns that is only available during the night that you see in some games. So, after I beat the third dungeon, this place will be in a different location entirely. Which, for the Warp Squid Hut, can be annoying. Not looking forward to tracking this place down for that. I wonder if there's a guide with possible locations on it somewhere on GameFAQs. Anyway, we want to come to Keep Out because it's where the next unique NPC is, and therefore where plot is. Excuse me, I'm looking for a zombie named Rotty Tops. I'm Rotty Tops. Who are you? My name's Shantae. You replied to my question about a magical stone, right? Oh, that. It's called the Simmerstone, because it burns endlessly. It's kept deep inside the Cackle Mount by a society of shriekers. What about it? I need to get to it before something terrible happens. Can you show me the way inside? Me show you? Ha! Aren't you afraid to ask a zombie for help? I might try to eat your brains. I thought only wild zombies ate brains. Shows what you know. I'll tell you what. Let's have a little competition to see just how bad you want it. If you win, I'll show you to the Simmerstone. But if I win, your brains become a tasty snack for me and my pals. What do you say, Shantae? Want a race? Why not? Got nothing to lose, really, because I have 7 lives. This is pretty much a very basic race. There's only you do have to hold B and hold right in order to speed up. It's not automatic. And in terms of obstacles, there's only little stones you have to jump over and tree trunks you have to slide through. Sliding is just done by pressing down. Why she doesn't have the slide maneuver normally, I'm not sure. On your first time through, this can be kind of annoying, but if you have a good reaction time, it's probably nothing at all. I do think, though, the longer you're sliding or in mid-air, you actually do slow down. Due to, momentum or something like that. Don't underestimate Rotty Tops, though. She is fast. More often than not, on your first try through, you probably will lose once or twice. This was try number 3 for me, I believe, but it's nothing terrible. Also, I think that's the only time you see that Shantae animation there. Huh. You beat me, dag-nab. Look, Shantae, you've got passion, and I like that. When I say I help you get that Simmerstone, I promise to keep the snacking to a minimum. I suppose. Then I'll meet you at the door of the Cackle Mount. Later. And the Cackle Mount is that thing over in the zombie swamp that I mentioned right here. And if it wasn't obvious enough, this is Dungeon 3. What's shaking, Bacon? Give me a sec to figure this thing out. Oh, you're not Fonzarelli. Don't even try it. Or not. I really like that. There we go. Now listen up. The walking nightmares that live in this home won't see you if you stay in the shadows. But once you're spotted, things will get ugly. Stay hidden as long as possible and you might make it out alive. Thanks, Rotty. I owe you one. Disregard that advice. The enemies know you're there no matter what, as far as I'm aware. Although if you just hold right, you might not get hit by them. Huh. Now, in terms of warp squids for this place, I'll say this now because we're coming up on the first one. It's actually in this room. Just get the monkey out. You can find it no problem. Is that, yet again, we can only get 4 of the 5 here. I think this is the last dungeon you can do that in, though. Dungeon 4, I do believe you can get all 5 in and onwards. Now, this dungeon obviously has a lot of undead stuff to it. In fact, I will say, this is actually probably, in terms of design, or visual design, my favorite dungeon. I love the green. Though those vines could go screw themselves. So they remind me of, what were they called? Thornweeds in Symphony of the Night, the Long Library? Anyway, a majority of the puzzles in this place actually revolve around these eyeballs in a jar. You can only break them out of the jar with Shantae. What you have to do is knock them into the statue's eyeball hole thing. And for doing so, you get a key. Later versions of this puzzle will change it up a bit, though. I'll get to that when we get to it, though. By the way, I love the music in here. Sounds like something right out of the Zelda Oracle games. More specifically, Oracle of Seasons, I believe, is what it reminds me of. I do like the shadow effects here, but I don't think they really do anything. And now we got the secondary big element of this dungeon, the eyeball blocks. They're a very simple concept. The direction the eye is pointing, if you land on top of them, they'll start moving in that way. However, I always get nervous with these things, because first off, most of the time when you're on them, you're near spikes, which are, as usual in gaming, instant death, so I tend to get a bit cautious and think and overthink things, which, yeah. Mind you, if I was a speedrunner, I would disregard that entirely, because I think speedrunners skip this place entirely. Unless they're doing a 100% speedrun, in which case, yeah. In terms of the spike design, it's fairly simple. There's only one really dickish section, and that's coming up, where you have to duck under the spikes, otherwise you will get killed. It's not right here, but it's coming up. Before you get on this one, though, jump to the right for a warp squid. That's one of those dickish ones that you might see when you're going up here, like, no! And then you just get screwed. Then again, if these blocks hit a wall, they do get destroyed and respawn in their initial spawn position. So, I suppose you can use that if you need to. Duck here. And you're good. And this is the next little knocking the eyeball into the statue puzzle, though you do need to climb as a monkey to get to it. Learning the dance rhythm is something that gets a lot easier as you go through the game, because when I first started playing this for, like, a bit of a, do I want to let's play this thing? I had such a hard time getting the dances to work right, whereas now it's pretty much second nature. Later games would change the way the dances work, though. It's pretty much just a cycle of animations, and the longer you wait for the cycle to go through, the different transformation you get. Like, on the first animation, you get the monkey. If you wait for the second one, you get whatever the second transformation in that game is, so on and so forth. Also, the ramp room we were in earlier, I forgot to mention it then, but keep that place in mind for later, because I'll be cutting back to the top of it for reasons. And now we're actually back in the room we got the first warp squid, I believe. Yeah, we are. But now we need to head to the lower left, because that's where the next thing we need to do is. Every time I expect gems, but I just get hearts. You stupid thornweed! Whoa, did you guys see that? I was Shantae for a second there with a different color palette. What the hell? I'm guessing that's just to do with sprite stuff. Anyway, those guys there who remind me a lot of Plague Knight from Shovel Knight, actually, are fairly simple. Just keep on spamming your Monkey Claw. They go down fairly easily. Though, like with other enemies, Shantae does more damage overall. I think the elephant does about the same amount of damage Shantae does with one of her attacks, but I'm not exactly sure about that. All I know is that there's one fairly broken ability I will be abusing during the final boss. Though I will at least talk about the final boss's pattern. When we get, I'll get more into that when we get to it, though. And that's a 1-up. Now, this is where, coming up here, this is where they change up the little eyeball puzzles. You might notice there's a statue here. Well, we need to make this eyeball ogle that statue of a woman. And to do that, it always starts at the top, and then it just cycles through the 4 cardinal directions going north, east, south, west. And so we need to face it west, we need to knock it into there 2 more times after this one. So, I'm cutting to the point where I get it to face left. His jaw drops, and we get a key. Some might classify that as a legitimate puzzle. I just kind of classify it as padding, honestly. Though it is at least visually humorous. Now, don't do what I'm about to do. Don't jump on this block. It's actually much faster for you to just fall down to the bottom, because there's no spikes at the very bottom. It's just land. Also, I should mention, unlike the second dungeon, we're doing this entire dungeon in this part. Because let's see, we did the first dungeon in one part, we did the second one in two, we're doing this one in one. And if I didn't have those little town sections at the beginning, this would probably be around 14 minutes. So yeah, this actually might be the shortest dungeon in terms of content. It's just that it's the most confusing in terms of design at this point. I hate this room. There's thornweeds all over the place. I know they're not called thornweeds, but that's just what they remind me of. Now, don't go this direction yet. You need to go on that platform. This is me trying to remember. Because in terms of test playthroughs, because I mentioned I started this off kind of blindish, but I at one point just decided to say, screw the blindness, let's play through the game at least once, finish the playthrough that I started. And now I'm cutting because I should have stayed on the block to get into this little corridor here, but you can monkey jump in here. It's not terribly hard, but it can get annoying. Go left, Kyle. Come on, thank you. And this is this section. This is another one of the little eye sections. You need to get this guy in the eye. Let me restart that sentence. You have to get this eye into there only once. It's just that it's the hardest to get into there at all. However, here's a quick solution. Face the right, and then just hit it. It'll go in automatically. I love finding out stuff like that. It's like the 1-1 warp glitch in Yoshi's Island. That's such a fun glitch to abuse as often as you can't use it. That's a speedrunning tactic, isn't it? Oh well. If you can't tell, I absolutely love the monkey transformation. I think it's just the fastest in terms of movement speed. Okay, now this room. First off, turn Shantae, probably after this little corridor here actually, and charge up your little shoulder charge attack. While I'm coming up on a rare enemy type, I just call them succubi, but they go down in one shot to the shoulder charge, otherwise they take a bit. And now we got this mini-boss, which I absolutely hate. This took about 2 minutes, honestly. Pretty much what he does is that what face is vulnerable to be hit is randomized in terms of order. You just have to hit it once and it won't get its attack off. And honestly, you're probably barely seeing which face is vulnerable yourself because it flickers. It's not terribly hard, it's just really time-consuming, and I hate time-consuming bosses. And now we're kind of stuck in this pit, but you might have noticed at this dungeon these spiderwebs here. Let's take a look. Guardian Genie time, which means it's time for our third transformation dance. This is actually my favorite in terms of animation frames, because this thing just looks cool. But it's also fairly useful for navigation. This is the spider dance. Activate it. Dance with down and A. And it also has a very broken ability late in late game. Now what I love about this thing is the animation of its, what's the rear part called? The abdomen? I forget. Either way, it just looks really good. But this thing, if you hold up when you're on one of those webs, you can actually walk on them. And the moment you leave one that can be walked on, you will actually automatically jump off. So now we can traverse quite a bit more of the dungeon. In fact, once you get the spider, the rest of the dungeon just kind of ends. Because there's not much left to do by the time this happens. Now, you might notice in the background there's a very faint arrow shape. We can use the monkey to jump into the ceiling here to get Warp Squid number 4. And as for where we are, we're actually right near the ramp room. To be more precise, the room we were in when we first found the eye block. And now I'm cutting back to the top of the ramp room, like I mentioned I was going to earlier, and now we can climb across these webs. I seriously just love the spider's animation. In fact, I remember reading that Shantae, between all her forms, I forget if it's between all her forms or not, is comprised of over 1,000 sprites, which is awesome. And now we got another one of these puzzles. This is the last one, and it's honestly one of the more annoying ones. You have to get all the both eyes to face upwards. And for doing that, you get the key. I suppose it's just kind of scared over the fact that it's about to get crushed by a bunch of stone, which is reasonably understandable. And with that, I think that's actually the last key. We need to head back to the room where we got the first warp squid, and exit via the top left, which is actually, if I recall correctly, how we entered the place. No, it's not, actually. And now we can climb these webs with the spider form. Oh, you bloody skeleton! Get out of my way. Thank you. So now we can climb these, and get pretty much to the boss. Now, I'm just going to say right now, there's two ways you can fight the upcoming boss. There's what I'm going to do, and then there's the hair method. Pretty much, this boss is beefy in terms of health, and if you just choose to fight with your hair, you'll probably be here for about 5 minutes. Which is just wrong. Ugh. That's funny. This is the Simmerstone chamber, but no sign of risky boots, if I'm quick enough. Ha! Nice try, girly girl, but this Simmerstone comes with me. Its magical fire will keep my water boiling forever. What? Not again. Ah! Just stop talking risky. Anyway, this Minotaur thing? Do not do the hair method. It'll slowly walk towards you, and in terms of attacks, it only has touch damage, and this little rolling attack it does every now and then, which gets slower and slower, if I recall correctly, the more HP, the less HP he has. What the real strategy is to hang on to these 3 platforms that you might not immediately notice you can hang on, and make him fall into the pits that you can open up. Which does quite a bit of damage in comparison. If he didn't just turn into it a second before stepping on it. Now, the traps do have a time limit, but it's honestly not that hard. If you just stay around the center of them, you probably should rarely get hit, and he should go down fairly simply. Problem is, though, he still has a lot of health even if you do this. It takes about 5 or 6 falls to kill him. And after falling, he does do a bit of a faster walk. But he's honestly not the most annoying boss in the world. I've faced much more annoying. Like Georg in Majora's Mask. I'm actually looking forward to the 3DS version 2 days ago. 2 days from now, at this point, actually, because they apparently may have made some changes to the Georg fight. I just bumped my mic, sorry about that. Not sure what changes they made to it, but I'm looking forward to it either way. As long as they left the Great Temple, the Great Bay Temple as a whole alone for the most part, because that's actually my favorite dungeon in that game. It's hard your first time around, yeah, but once you start to memorize it, you really start to appreciate its design. Unless you're playing the original Japanese version. That freaking rudder thing that you had to stop with perfect timing in the N64 Japanese version. That's why I'm glad I don't do speedruns of 100% speedruns, because that would just get annoying. Actually, what do 100% speedruns count 100% for in Majora's Mask as? All heart containers? All masks? Anyway, yeah, that was a boss. And thus, we can get the Simmerstone if it would let me grab it, thank you. And that's Dungeon 3 completed really quickly. I think that took like 13 minutes total. I did it! I got the Simmerstone! Well, I knew with my help you'd make it out okay. What's the reason for collecting these stones anyway? Kind of a dangerous hobby, isn't it? I don't have any choice. Risky Boots is going to use them for some sort of doomsday weapon. I've already kept her from getting the Dribblestone, Golemstone, and Simmerstone, and if I could head her off one last time, Scuttletown and the others should be safe. That girl's bad news, alright. She's one of the reasons we move our caravan each night. In fact, we're moving out in the morning, so if you want to visit me again, you'll have to track our caravan down first. In the meantime, you should head over to Mount Pointy. Why? What's there? The Twinklestone. You've got to get the other 3, and that's the only one left. You don't have any warmer clothes, do you? Why would anyone want to wear warm clothes? Heh, no reason. See you around. And it turned into daytime automatically, of course, right as I said that, so I can't get the warp squid there. Great. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we'll be heading towards the Twinkle areas, because that's where we need to go next. But some side stuff has to happen first. See you guys then.